Hello, and thank you for joining us for our presentation on Teaching Realities in Early Education, or TREE. My name is Tiernan McElwain. I'm the Director for Child and Family Partners, and you may have heard about us as we offer a family partnership program for Head Start and Early Head Start home visitors and family advocates. We have an online training program to meet the Head Start credentials for that program, and now we're offering a program for classroom teaching team members, understanding that many times teaching team members need some extra support for foundational skills that's missed in the education or experiences that we get prior to joining childcare programs. And I'm joined by our course administrator, Zoe Tweed. Hi, Zoe.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Let's talk about TREE. TREE is an evidence-based program for early childhood providers that addresses the pyramid model for supporting social emotional competence in infants and young children. Yes, it's a mouthful, but the pyramid model, as many of you know, is an evidence-based framework for practices that promote social and emotional growth and development in children. We link our program to NAEYC standards and the class domains, but we also wanted to make something that was fun, engaging, and used what we commonly refer to as adult learning techniques that we know are evidence-based. So we have folks watch various or engage with various materials. They implement practices based on those materials, and they tell us about it. And we'll go into that in more detail later on. But the most important thing for us was that we had a program that would provide brief engagement on assignments and materials, and then an opportunity to practice implementation. We know that when it comes to in-service training, teaching team members have very little time, and we wanted to honor that time with brief but highly focused practices that are definitely going to merit their attention in the classroom. Zoe, go ahead and tell us about these program principles a little bit.
Yeah, TREE has three main overarching principles, and they follow the belief that young children have emotional and social needs. They learn best in the context of responsive relationships, and they need supportive environments.
It's interesting too how throughout our assignments we show how these intertwine. We have social emotional needs, but some of those are met by having a supportive environment, and some of those are met by responsive relationships. We also wanted to develop a program that would address the needs of early childhood programs. We know that turnover is an issue. We know training is an issue for early childhood programs. And we know that often the education that folks get, whether it's at an institute of higher education or high school or other place, there are some gaps in terms of the skills and knowledge that they get there. So we wanted to have a program that ensured that relationships with children, families, and team members were happening, that you could develop supportive environments. And we wanted to have a way to develop a common vocabulary and common foundation or baseline of skills for teaching teams. We also knew that early childhood programs needed something that was effective and cost efficient. And this onboarding process that we'll talk about a little bit can be really powerful. And we also, as I mentioned, turnover being an issue, staffing patterns can be maintained if you offer quality training that helps prevent turnover. Zoe, tell us a little bit about how these differ in terms of the pre-service and in-service aspects of the program.
Yeah, our in-service program, people who are already in their classroom working with children on a day-to-day basis, they go through and do WIT by watching the materials, and then they get to right away implement all of the evidence-based practices that they learned. They can implement it directly with their kids, and then post a class comment reflecting on what they've done, and they get to see how other people have experienced it by watching their class comments. But then also we have the pre-service side, where pre-service is when the participants are not in the classrooms yet. They're getting ready to get into that mode. And so we also follow WIT with these participants. They watch the material And then the implement part looks a little bit different. We give them prompts to either visualize how these practices would work in a classroom, or they can practice it in other aspects of their life. We also ask them to pull on past experiences that they've had in school, maybe when they were a student. And then again, they also get to post the class comment with everyone else's. And so it's just building on that class community even more.
Yeah, I like the fact that we're talking about community for an online program because we know how it can get isolating. And we want to make sure that folks have a connection to one another, but we also want to make sure that they have a connection to us as staff who are running the program, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. The pyramid model that we address, we do that with 30 different assignments in the TREE program. And we address the effective workforce by helping folks develop nurturing and responsive relationships with children, with team members, and with family members. We help them talk about and develop high quality supportive environments by paying attention to the physical and the psychological climate. And we also help them learn how to use systematic approaches to teaching social skills. And all of these are evidence-based practices related to these various levels of the pyramid model. Zoe, you've mentioned WIT a couple times. Tell us, oh, wait a minute. This is my favorite guy. So this is a picture. I was working in the classroom as a consultant, and this young man here is taking my donut order. And in order to be a waiter, he had to wear a pair of sunglasses.
Yeah, I love how kids, they decide exactly what they need to become that certain person. It's
Yeah.
really interesting to hear their logic.
Yeah. I got to have the sunglasses on. We weren't even outside. Maybe that's his experiences with waiters being outside.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit more about WIT.
This is honestly my favorite part of the program, and I think it's extremely powerful. The participants, they watch usually a short video clip, and the few reading materials that we do have also come with an audio recording of it. And I know for me, it was really hard to go through a bunch of reading of endless evidence. So it's really nice that they get to quickly watch something and take in that information. And then they immediately get to implement those strategies with their students and see exactly how it would work. And I know a lot of times with working with children, they don't respond exactly how you think they're going to. So it's nice to have that immediate implementation. And then they also get to reflect on their classroom experiences. And the reflection is not really a long, couple page long reflection. It's a short, even social media size comment. And they get to share that with all of the other participants in this classroom, in the TREE classroom. And so you get to celebrate things that went really well, and you get to have a platform that shares concerns or things that really didn't go well, and maybe how you can make them go better in the future.
Exactly. And I think many of the things you mentioned are what we're seeing in current research. You know, people are doing well with the expectations around like a social media size comment. You know, that's what we can expect from folks. We can expect folks to be able to engage in a brief video and maintain that information long enough to implement that. And as we mentioned with the pre-service bunch, they may do that implementation in a different way. That's not quite because either we're waiting on background checks or it's before the school year starts. They can conceptualize it in different ways. But what I also want to say is they can go through this program pre-service and then do it again in service. There's no additional fee for doing that. We need to talk about our fee structure at the end a little bit more, I'm realizing, but typically what we try to do is set programs up with a subscription based on the number of classrooms you have. And then we, based on your own interest, you can register or share the link for the class with whomever in your program would like to participate in the program. Zoe, we also, after the Friday Afternoon Club, what the heck is that?
The Friday Afternoon Club is something that is purely optional, and it's a place where participants in the program can join this Zoom call with the tree staff and talk about things that are going well or things that aren't going so well. And this goes along with the classroom community that we were just talking about with our reflections. And as a little incentive to join these afternoon clubs, we offer to be entered to win a prize.
Yeah, multiple prizes per afternoon club. And
Exactly.
I love this idea of having this be a collaboration of learners and I think the whole process is set up that way, where we share comments and we get to read one another's comments, because we learn from one another just as we're learning from the program. And then when we've had feedback in our other family partnership program about how important and helpful it is to be able to access and see other people in the program, whether it's office hours or a Friday afternoon club like we're talking about. We want to give people a chance to connect with the staff of the program as well as one another, so that, again, we kind of combat that idea of isolation as a part of online learning. We wanted to give a sneak peek on our assignments as well. We have a fully live program right now. Not sure, Zoe, can you see the top there where it says responsive relationships team? Positive responsive relationships team. Okay.
Yep.
So I wanted to highlight this a little bit because I've been working in early childhood for probably 30 years, and I haven't seen or heard much in terms of team development for early childhood programs. It's a luxury we often can't afford to engage much time or investment in, but it's an important piece because I think it often is more difficult for us to get team members to relate to one another than it is to get team members to relate to children. I think they come in expecting to relate to children, and for many of them, they feel that's a strength. However, they may not have considered the necessity of working in a team and how important that can be for all of us in a classroom, including children. So we start with simple things like, okay, let's set up a piggy bank of positivity for staff members. What can you do to demonstrate positive connections to one another, and then recognize that the same way we do with children. We have children, I've seen videos of kids in classrooms where if they do something kind, they put a pom-pom in the kindness jar, and the whole class celebrates when the jar gets full. What I want to encourage folks to consider is that this can be something important for us to model as team members or members of a teaching team in a classroom. And when we have older children in a classroom, for example, 4 and 5-year-olds, they can help us track it as well. Oh, Mr. Mack just said something nice to Miss Zoe. We need to put a pom-pom in the kindness jar. We have 5 assignments here in the team relationships module that I think are just outstanding. And really help teammates relate better to one another. We have responsive relationships with children that precedes that, and then we have responsive relationships with parents, which has a wonderful array of activities that will help staff members build just those basic and helpful relationships with parents that honor everything from, parents' perspectives as well as parents' cultures. This is a sneak peek of one of our assignments, positive moments for building relationships with children. We talk about in each assignment, the intro talks about how important the aspects of the assignment are. In this particular assignment, we also wanted to note that culture makes a big difference in terms of how we treat each other when it comes to eye contact, physical touch, or other aspects of social emotional development. So we give participants a way to think about and respond to the confusion or the wondering that they may feel when they're not sure how to respond or how a child is responding to them. We say simply ask, talk to family members, talk to parents, and understand what their expectations are for certain behaviors or certain ways of interacting and promoting development for their children. We also link each assignment to its respective NAEYC standards, as well as the class connections, the classroom assessment scoring system, because we know that's so often used in determining quality of programs. This is a little more specifically on the assignment piece for that assignment, promoting positive relationships. As you'll see at the bottom, we have a video on the left, and on the right, we have an audio introduction that we've recorded to In the event that folks don't want to read the entire assignment and its intro, they can listen to it. They can watch the video, and then they watch, they implement, and they tell, just like Zoe talked about. And it says here that in the assignment, watch the video, implement the practices, tell us how it went. And then again, if you're not working in a classroom, this is the pre-service bullet point for the assignment. Post a class comment on one new thing that you learned in this video. So we just make sure we give people a chance to engage with the material we have, whether it's to implement it or simply engage by being thoughtful and reflective about it. Finally, our contact information. Zoe Tweed is our tree course administrator. Thanks for joining me, Zoe. Oh, I hope I didn't lose her. I'm Tiernan McElwain, Child and Family Partners Director.